Mango. The mango is called the king of fruits across much of South Asia, and it's the national fruit of India, Pakistan, and the Philippines. Originally from the foothills of the Himalayas in India and Myanmar, mangoes have been grown for over 4,000 years and show up throughout Buddhist history and the Mughal Empire. In Buddhism, mango groves were favorite spots for meditation. The Buddha was reportedly born under a tree that some believe was a mango. There are hundreds of varieties, like India's creamy Alfonso or Thailand's fibrous Nam Dok Mai. Portuguese traders spread mangoes to Africa and Brazil. More varieties of mangoes exist in India alone than in the rest of the world combined, with flavors ranging from turpentine to honey. Pomegranate. Pomegranates are one of the oldest cultivated fruits on Earth, with evidence of farming going back to 5,000 years in what's now Iran and Afghanistan. They were prized by ancient Persians, Greeks, and Romans. In Judaism, it's a symbol of righteousness, and its seeds are traditionally thought to number 613, the same as the number of commandments in the Torah. In Buddhism, it's one of the 3 blessed fruits, alongside the peach and the citron. And in medieval Christian art, it represented resurrection and the unity of the church. It's also packed with antioxidants, which makes it great for your heart and gut. Pineapples. Pineapples come from South America and were named by early Europeans for the resemblance to pine cones. In 17th and 18th century England, a single pineapple could cost the equivalent of $8,000 in today's money. It got so extreme that people would actually rent pineapples for a night just to carry one around as an accessory or place it on the table at a party. Hosts would leave the fruit out until it started to rot, basically as a way of showing off how much they could afford to waste. Pineapples contain an enzyme called bromelain that literally breaks down proteins, which is why you get that tingling feeling on your tongue after eating a fresh one. Kiwi fruit. Kiwi fruit actually comes from China, where it was called the Chinese gooseberry and used as food and medicine. New Zealand farmers got hold of the seeds in the early 1900s, developed the variety we know today, and renamed it kiwi fruit after the kiwi bird to make it more marketable. The kiwi is technically a berry, with fuzzy skin you can actually eat and a bright, colorful inside. Most people are familiar with the green kind, but there are also golden and red varieties. Golden kiwis have smooth skin and taste sweeter, while red kiwis are rare and have a cool pattern inside. Kiwis contain a natural enzyme called actinidin that helps your body break down protein and may help with digestion. Orange. The orange as we know it doesn't exist in the wild. It's a hybrid, most likely between a pomelo and a mandarin, created through centuries of cultivation in southern China. The word orange traces back to the Sanskrit word naranga, meaning orange tree, which passed through Persian and Arabic before landing in Old French as orange. English speakers didn't start calling the color orange until the early 1500s. Before that, the color was described as yellow-red. Navel oranges, the most popular eating variety, are all genetically identical because they can only be reproduced by grafting. Every navel orange you've ever eaten is technically a clone of a single mutant tree found in Brazil in the early 1800s. Lemon. Lemons are also a hybrid that likely originated somewhere in northeastern India. In 1747, a doctor named James Lind ran what's considered one of the first real clinical trials ever, proving that lemons and oranges could cure scurvy, a disease that was actually killing more sailors than enemy ships were. Lemons have also been used as invisible ink for secret messages since ancient Rome and Egypt, since the acid becomes visible when heated. Lemon trees can produce fruit year-round and never fully go dormant, which makes them unusual among fruiting plants. Dates. Dates are sweet fruits from the date palm, a plant native to the Middle East. Evidence of date palm farming in Mesopotamia from about 7,000 years ago makes them one of the oldest cultivated fruits in the world. The date palm was so important to ancient Middle Eastern countries that it appeared on coins, in religious texts, and as a symbol of prosperity and victory. Dates are extremely high in sugar, sometimes over 80% when dried, making them one of the most calorie-dense fruits that exist. A single date palm can produce hundreds of pounds of fruit per year and live for over 100 years. One famous variety, the medjool, is known for its large, caramel sweet flesh. They were a staple of desert cultures and provided quick energy. In 2005, scientists found a roughly 2,000-year-old Judean date palm seed during excavations at Masada in Israel, and it actually sprouted. Figs. The fig is stranger than it looks, and it may be the oldest cultivated plant in human history, possibly predating even wheat and barley. Archaeologists found evidence of fig cultivation in the Jordan Valley dating back 11,400 years. Figs aren't technically fruit in the traditional sense. They're inverted flowers called a syconium, and the crunchy bits inside are the actual flowers. The fig is pollinated by a tiny wasp that crawls inside through a small opening, pollinates the flowers, lays eggs, and usually dies inside. Female wasps chew their way out. The fig then produces an enzyme that digests the wasp entirely, so you're not eating wasp parts. Most commercial figs are self-pollinating anyway and don't require wasps at all. Dragon fruit. Dragon fruit, also known as pitaya, actually grows on a cactus and is native to Central America. It was brought to Southeast Asia by French colonizers in the early 1800s. It has since become popular worldwide in smoothies, smoothie bowls, and drink garnishes because of its bright color and refreshing flavor. Vietnam now produces the vast majority of the world's dragon fruit, even though it isn't native there at all. Buddha's hand. Buddha's hand is a weird-looking citrus fruit that has mutated to develop finger-like segments instead of a round fruit body. It originated in Asia and got its name because the fruit resembled a hand in prayer or offering. In East Asian cultures, it's one of the 3 lucky fruits, alongside the peach and pomegranate. It has no juice, no pulp, and no seeds at all, so you can't really eat it the way you'd eat other citrus. It's mostly valued for its smell and what it represents. Some people just put it in a room as a natural air freshener, and in China, it's often given as a good luck gift. Jaboticaba. The jaboticaba, also called the Brazilian grape tree, is native to the Atlantic forests of Brazil and Bolivia. This fruit grows straight out of the trunk and main branches instead of on little stems like most fruits do. The fruits taste like a mild grape or muscadine with a thick skin that pops when you bite it. Because they spoil quickly within 3 to 4 days, they're almost never exported fresh and are practically unknown outside Brazil. Locals eat them off the tree by walking up and pulling them directly from the bark. The wine and liquor made from jabuticaba are extremely popular in Brazil. Some trees can take 8 to 15 years before producing fruit, which is one reason they're mostly grown in home gardens rather than large commercial farms. Brazilians also make jams, jellies, vinegars, and even jabuticaba ice cream. Guava. Guava is native to Mexico and Central America, and was spread throughout the tropical world by Spanish and Portuguese colonizers in the 16th and 17th centuries. The entire fruit is edible, including the rind, and the flesh can be white, yellow, pink, or deep red depending on the variety. Guava contains more vitamin C than an orange, more lycopene than a tomato, and more potassium than a banana. Guava paste, called goiabada in Brazil, is eaten with cheese in a combination called Romeo and Juliet, which is one of the most popular desserts in the country. Durian. Durians are massive spiky fruits from Southeast Asia, famously nicknamed the king of fruits. They're very large and covered in a thorny husk. It's banned on public transportation and hotels in Singapore and several other countries because the smell is so intense. Some durians can weigh up to 7 or 8 kilograms, making them one of the largest tree fruits. Inside, the custard-like flesh tastes sweet and rich. Southeast Asians use it in desserts like durian sticky rice and ice cream. Certain varieties, especially the Musang King, sell for very high prices and are considered luxury fruits in parts of Asia. Durian also appears in cakes, pastries, candies, and even pizzas or hot pot in parts of Asia. Grape. Grapes were likely first cultivated around the Mediterranean thousands of years ago, and are one of the most economically significant fruits globally. The table grapes are bred to be big, crunchy, and easy to eat, with thin skins you barely notice. Wine grapes are smaller and sweeter, with thicker skins and seeds to give wine its color and that dry, tangy feeling. There are over 10,000 known grape varieties worldwide, though only a few dozen are used commercially. The practice of growing grapes is called viticulture, and has shaped entire economies, wars, religions, and cultures. Raisins are simply dried grapes, but the drying process concentrates the sugar so dramatically that they contain far more sugar per gram than fresh grapes. In Japan, luxury grapes like Ruby Roman are grown in greenhouses and can sell for hundreds or even thousands of dollars per bunch. The fruit is even used in fashion, with brands like Bentley and Stella McCartney creating grape leather from leftover stems and skins from winemaking. Black zapote. The black zapote is a fruit from Mexico and Central America that's related to persimmons. People call it the chocolate pudding fruit because when ripe, the green skin turns dark brown or black, and the soft flesh inside becomes rich, sweet, and pudding-like. Interestingly, before it ripens, it's bright green and so bitter that people in the Philippines actually used it to poison fish. The taste is pretty mild, more like honey or sweet squash than actual chocolate, even though it looks like it. Many people blend it with orange juice or milk. It's nearly impossible to find in North America or European markets, because it bruises easily and has a very short shelf life once ripe, making it difficult to export. Banana. Bananas are among the most produced, traded, and consumed fruits globally. There are over 1,000 varieties, but the most traded one is the Cavendish banana, which actually cannot reproduce with seeds. Farmers must grow new plants from offshoots of existing ones, which means they all have the same genetic makeup and could disappear if one gets sick. This actually happened before with the Gros Michel, which got wiped out by a fungal disease in the mid-1900s. Early wild bananas had big, hard seeds, and the fruit is technically a berry by botanical definition. Salak. The salak is a small tropical fruit known as snake fruit because of its reddish-brown scaly skin. It's native to Java and Sumatra in Indonesia and is mostly unknown in Western countries. The skin peels off easily, revealing white or yellowish segments with a texture somewhere between an apple and a pear, and a flavor that ranges from sweet to acidic depending on the variety. The fruit grows in clusters at the base of a palm tree that is covered in sharp black spines, making harvesting dangerous. Bali produces a highly prized variety called salak Bali that has a slight honey sweetness and is considered significantly superior to other types. In Indonesia, people call it the memory fruit because it's packed with potassium and pectin, both are which good for your brain. Peach. In Chinese culture, the peach is the ultimate symbol of long life and immortality. They are stone fruits that traveled from China to Persia along the Silk Road. The fuzz on a peach actually helps the fruit regulate moisture and protects it from insects. Nectarines are not a separate species. They're just peaches with a single genetic mutation that removes the fuzz. White peaches are lower in acid than yellow ones, which is why they taste sweeter even when they contain the same amount of sugar. A perfectly ripe peach has one of the shortest shelf lives of any common fruit, which is why the ones in supermarkets are almost picked too early. China still produces more peaches than any other country in the world. Miracle berry. These tiny red fruits from West Africa contain a protein called miraculin that binds to taste receptors on your tongue and makes sour and acidic foods taste intensely sweet for anywhere between 30 minutes and 2 hours. Biting into a lemon after eating one tastes like lemonade. Vinegar tastes like apple juice, and hot sauce tastes like a spicy glaze. In the 1970s, a company tried to market Miracle Berry tablets as a sugar substitute for diabetics, but the FDA blocked approval under circumstances that many people believe involved lobbying from the sugar industry. Today, they're used at flavor tripping parties where people try different foods to experience the effect. On their own, Miracle Berries actually taste fairly mild. Mangosteen. Often called the queen of fruits, mangosteen has juicy white segments inside a thick purple rind. Legend says Queen Victoria offered a 100-pound reward to anyone who could bring her a fresh one, which is how it got its royal nickname. The fruit actually clones itself within pollination. The flavor is sweet, slightly citrusy, and very fragrant. Mangosteen trees grow slowly and can take many years before producing fruit, which helped make them rare outside Asia for a long time. Starfruit. Starfruit, also called carambola, is native to tropical Asia, and the entire fruit is edible. The flavor varies dramatically depending on the variety and ripeness, ranging from very sour to mildly sweet, with a crisp, watery texture similar to a grape. The starfruit contains a neurotoxin that healthy kidneys filter out without any issue, but for people with kidney disease, it can be dangerous and has caused serious neurological episodes and even deaths. It's also high in oxalates, so people prone to kidney stones are often advised to avoid it entirely. Breadfruit. Breadfruit is one of the most productive food plants on Earth. A single tree can produce hundreds of fruits per year for decades, and the starchy flesh, when roasted or baked, has a texture similar to fresh bread or a potato, which is how it got its name. It's native to the Pacific Islands and has been a dietary staple across Polynesia for thousands of years. The British wanted to use it as a cheap, high-energy food for enslaved people on Caribbean plantations. Today, it's roasted, fried, boiled, or mashed in many tropical cuisines. Modern interest in breadfruit has increased because of how efficiently it produces calories with minimal agricultural input. Pawpaw. The pawpaw is the largest edible fruit native to North America. It tastes like a cross between a banana and a mango, with a soft custardy texture and a surprisingly tropical flavor. Indigenous peoples ate pawpaws widely, but they remain fairly unknown in the United States because the fruit ripens for only a few weeks in late summer, bruises almost immediately after picking, and has a shelf life of just a few days. Because of this, it's rarely commercially distributed. The fruit was reportedly enjoyed by George Washington and Thomas Jefferson, and early American explorers like Lewis and Clark even relied on pawpaws for food during parts of their journey. Finger lime. Often called citrus caviar, finger limes are native to the rainforests of eastern Australia. When you squeeze them, they release tiny juice-filled pearls that pop in your mouth like fish roe. The pearls come in colors ranging from white to pink to deep red, depending on the variety. Indigenous Australians ate finger limes for thousands of years before chefs rediscovered them in the 1990s, after which they began appearing in seafood dishes and cocktails. The trees are slow-growing, heavily spined, and difficult to cultivate at scale, which keeps the price extremely high. Medlar. The medlar is a fruit that must rot before you can eat it. It was extremely popular across Europe during the Middle Ages, but is mostly unknown today. It grows on a small tree and looks like a brown apple with an open blossom end. They must first go through a process called bledding, where the fruit softens and turns almost mushy. Once bledded, the flavor becomes sweet and wine-like, and people traditionally ate them with a spoon or made them into jams and preserves. They taste like spicy applesauce or dates. Tomato. The tomato is technically a fruit by every botanical definition, a berry even, but an 1893 U.S. Supreme Court ruling officially classified it as a vegetable for trade and tariff purposes. And that ruling still stands. It's native to Western South America, where wild varieties grow as small, scattered berries, unlike the large cultivated ones we eat today. When tomatoes first arrived in Europe in the 1500s, many people refused to eat them because they're in the nightshade family, and the leaves and stems are actually toxic. For about 2 centuries, Europeans grew them as ornamental plants. The Italians were among the first to commit to eating them, which is why they became so ingrained in Italian cuisine, even though they only arrived there roughly 400 years ago. There are now over 10,000 known tomato varieties, varying widely in size, color, and flavor. Watermelon. Native to Africa, watermelons were used for hydration in arid environments for over 5,000 years. Ancient Egyptian tomb depictions showed the fruit transitioning from a round, wild shape to the familiar oblong variety through selective breeding. Wild watermelons were extremely bitter and were initially valued more for their water content than their flavor, serving essentially as a portable canteen in arid regions. About 92% of the fruit is water, which is how it got its name. Modern seedless watermelons are produced by crossing diploid and tetraploid plants to create triploid offspring that cannot produce viable seeds.